Business Takeout presents
The Cocktale Hour with L.A. Wade.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl. This is L.A. Wade, and I am here in the Cocktale Hour with my homie, Miss Natasha Mccrea. How are you today?
I'm great. I just love the title.
Oh, well, we're going to be getting into that because I know that there is like an online doppelganger type of thing going on here.
We have I'm major girl crushing.
Listen, the feeling is mutual. But before we get started, I'm going to give a shout out to Business Takeout, which presents the Cocktale Hour. They're a not-for-profit social enterprise that really promotes and inspires Black wealth and Black entrepreneurship. And I know that my guest is Black and she's an entrepreneur, and I think she's pretty wealthy. Maybe not, I don't know how she is financially, but this woman has a lot of wealth. Okay. And she also has a really famous husband as well. You might have noticed him a couple of shows back, but we're not here to talk about him. He can get his own shine.
Yes, he got his shine.
Right? Okay. Welcome to the Cocktale Hour, Natasha. It is an absolute pleasure to have you here. Thank you for taking the time.
Of course. I'm excited to be here. We
Listen,
get to have some girl talk.
Right? I really wish I had some wine or something. I just have water, but that's okay. It's okay. So I like to always start the Cocktale Hour off with kind of understanding who my guest is and how they got to where they are. And I get bios. I don't want to hear, I don't want to read it off. I want to know, what do you want to tell us about who you are and how you got here?
I am freaking passionate about life. That's, and I wasn't. Clear. Yeah, I'm passionate about life, and I wasn't always in that space. I really kind of let things happen to me and then responded to life. And so when I hit 40, I got the big F you, I'm 40 kind of attitude. I did. And that's right around when I started Love CEO Institute as well. But where I am now in my life, I'm all about life feeling good. I'm all about finding pleasure in life. I'm all about helping other women do the same thing.
Help me.
Yes.
Me.
Yes. I'm about that life. It is so important. I just feel like I have this sisterhood to women that I haven't even met yet of like, let's do this together.
Yes.
Let's go snatch up our pleasure together.
I know this is true about you because I read that you had one of your favorite quotes is by Felicia Rashad, where you say magical things happen when women come together.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that quote, because I think it really encapsulates Love CEO and who you are as a person.
It really does. I mean, I came from being a love addict. And when I discovered I was a love addict in therapy, I ended up just doing all the research I could on love. And I'm a brainiac, so I'm reading white papers and books and workshops. Yes, that's what I was saying, LA. We were like right there together. Wow. And in doing that, it brought me to a place of ultimate love. Love runs through my veins. I tap into that every morning. I coach my people how to tap into that. And I lean into it consistently. Yes, I'm human. Yes, I want to cut people sometimes. But I lead with love. And in leading with love, that makes me feel so connected to the person next to me. There was a saying of the richest place in the world is in the heart of the person right next to you. And I say it's in the heart of the woman sitting right next to me.
Look at this.
So I feel like there's that collective consciousness. There's that collective consciousness that if my sister is hurting, then I need to understand that and figure out a way how I can help her. And helping myself gives me the power and the strength to help other people.
How did you turn that into a business? Because people are always like the Cocktale Hour, and why do you spell it like that? And
Yeah. It's always our experiences, right? It always comes from our life experiences. Yeah. So I have a one-woman show. It's called Evolution of a Love Addict because I was a love addict and now I'm a love CEO. But once a love addict, always a love addict. So you got to make sure you checking in every now and then. It's like that self-awareness. Like, oops, I'm slipping.
Self-awareness.
So after my one woman show, we would do Q&A and there would be questions. And I thought questions were going to come in about how I, wrote the show and got a director and all this stuff. But the questions that came in were, how do I forgive after divorce? And how do I love myself again? How do I forgive myself for my choices? And how do I date after divorce? So there were very in-depth, deep conversation. And I've always knew I wanted to encourage and empower women through all forms of media. Yes. And so at the time, I was also introduced to the online coaching community. And I would answer these questions. It turned into group therapy at a theater, y'all.
Hello.
Group,
yes. Have you
group
seen
therapy.
Instagram lives? They're really like, this is what happens. We need each other. We need each other so much. And the love addict situation and the one woman show, you said that you thought you'd be answering questions about who did you choose to direct it.
And
we want to know that here, but we also want to know the other stuff too, because for me, it's not separate. I believe that who I am in my personal life definitely influences who I am in my business life. And
I'm glad you're saying that.
Yeah, because I want to know from you, and I'm sure a lot of the viewers that watch this, how did you learn to trust yourself to make the right personal choices and business choices?
Taking risks. I had to take risks.
I think that would be the answer, right? Oh, I throw myself out there.
I had to. And when people ask you, what are you afraid of? I'm afraid of fear. I'm afraid of fear paralyzing me to look up one day and hate my life. I'm afraid of fear keeping me from going after that thing that's in my heart. I'm afraid of fear keeping me from loving with all of my beingness. I'm afraid of that. And so with having that, on the back of on my shoulder, I knew that I had to dive into things. And I was compartmentalizing for a while because I was like, the acting people didn't know I was a coach and the coaching people didn't know I was an actress. And then finally it was hard. It was so, it was hard. It was challenging. And you start to get depressed because you don't feel like you're embodying all of who you are all the time. And I know that we embody each different parts of us at different times, but it felt like I just didn't like it. And so at one point I just said, okay, it's time to stop compartmentalizing. So when I was speaking at women's events, I would pull in some portion of my one woman show. And when I would go at a Directors Guild meeting, I would tell people I am a coach. So it really, I had to try it on. And it was weird at first when I'm standing in the entertainment world and directors and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a coach. When you want to lead with, I'm an actress, give me a job,
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And I just said, I am who I am. Hopefully you give me a job.
Yes, absolutely. Exactly. I want to understand, the finer details of the business side of what you're talking about. Like you're saying, you had that struggle between your personal life coaching stuff and then the idea of, can you hire me to be in your TV series or your movie or whatnot?
Yeah.
And just wondering, when you had to make decisions about trusting yourself, were you single at that time in your life, or was your husband with you at that time?
Oh yeah. I was single at that time in my life when I first did my one woman show. And I don't even know if I trusted myself before I took the action.
Right. Okay. So this is exactly what I wanted. So I have this analogy of like, the trapeze. You're kind of swinging the trapeze, and you have to let go. You have to let go to grab onto the next one. And I feel like I keep swinging to gain momentum because I think I need the momentum to let go.
Yeah.
How does that show up for you in your life at that period of time for you? How did you eventually let go and grab a hold of it?
At the time for me, when I was single and making those decisions and feeling like I just had to jump and go, it was more I felt like the one swing I was holding on to started to burn down. I felt like it was that.
If I don't pick up the speed here.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, there's flames up there. And I mean, burn down in the sense of, you start noticing changes in yourself. You start becoming like complacent about certain things. You start not really being excited about life. You start turning down those fun things. You start denying yourself of your pleasure. You start forgetting what brings you joy and pleasure.
Just a little bit. Sometimes it's like
we double dutching.
I'm
Like,
swinging. Yeah, the
yeah.
double dutch.
Yeah,
And I
you're like, I'm here,
and I
I'm not, I'm here,
wanna
I'm not.
and listen, it's one thing to jump into those ropes and like get a pattern, right? But it's
Yeah.
another thing to be like touching your foot and flipping your friend over while you're also double dutching.
Yeah.
And that's where
Yeah.
you are. But
Yeah.
I'm still in that I get in and I get out.
I still do that.
Oh, you
It's
do?
just the longer, yeah, but the longer, the more. So over the years, I developed something called love intelligence. And the very first pillar of that is self-awareness. And the more I dive into that personal relationship with myself and gain that self-awareness, then I have longer periods that I'm spending in pleasure. And
Yes.
it doesn't mean you're not jumping out or the rope doesn't, stop you. It
Right.
just means that the periods where you're stunted or depressed or not feeling yourself, those periods are a little shorter than they were in the past
Yes.
because I have different tools
Right.
and I've created new muscle memory.
The synapses are going in the right
Yeah.
place.
Yeah. I'm like mind mapping all the way now,
I
you
love
know?
Yes,
Yeah.
I love that. So love intelligence and pillars. I'm assuming that this is a part of the Love CEO Institute.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah, it
we can
is.
talk a little bit about the Love CEO Institute.
So I wanted a place where women could come where they didn't have to put on airs, they could be themselves, but we didn't compartmentalize because when I first started my business, everything was compartmentalized. It's like, learn how to do these Facebook ads. Oh, get into this, doing this business. Oh, how about these funnels? And everything was just the compartment versus how do you set goals and have self care activations and celebrations attached to that,
Oh my
you
gosh.
know?
Yes.
Yeah. And we
Yes.
don't usually talk about it. It's like goal, rise and grind. And I said, I cannot do rise and grind. I will awaken and flow
Oh,
in
I
my
love
life.
it. Hashtag awaken
Awaken,
and flow.
awaken and flow, honey. No rise and grind lifestyle for me. It
This
doesn't work. And it works for some. There are some people where they thrive on it. It feeds them. It's fuels, that fire in them, but it didn't for me. And it made me feel less than. And I looked up and be like, I want to sleep. I'm not trying to have a 4-hour day. Like
yeah,
I want to
no.
take a nap. I want champagne and oysters in the middle of the week. Like I just felt like that wasn't my lifestyle. So what I had to do was lean into my love intelligence, lean into taking care of myself in order to be able to do the things that you're saying, hey, you're leaning into this love intelligence. And I hope I'm answering that because I can't remember the question now. I just went on a tangent.
That's okay. That's okay. Mike Truth from who watches all the time is shouting me out. Hi, LA. Hey, Mike Truth.
Oh,
This is
hey, Mick Truth.
Natasha.
Nice to meet you
Yes.
virtually.
Oh my gosh. We were talking, I want to go back to the beginning. So it's almost like there's pre-Natasha, pre-Love CEO,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's post-Love there's
Yeah.
current Love CEO.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess eventually I'm gonna hear where you're gonna go with it. But during those formative times leading up to the Love CEO, where did you grow up? Who was around you? What were the things that you gained as your best life lessons during that period?
Yeah, that's such a interesting time for me because I feel like I was disconnected in a sense so I grew up in San Jose, California, and two-parent household. There's four of us. And then when I was 15, I found out my dad had twins that were not that were not my mother's children.
Okay, that happens a lot in the Caribbean.
Yeah, it happens a lot, but everybody want to keep it a secret. And so my mom told me, but then she said, don't tell anyone, which is no shout out, mom. I love you. But that was like the worst thing to tell a 15-year-old. Don't tell anybody and don't go to therapy. Well, she didn't say don't go to therapy, but we just didn't.
Right.
And so that shifted my mindset around my value, around who I expected in my life. And I had an amazing, little teenage relationship with the guy who was very real and honest. And then I just blew that up. And then I ended up
Okay,
getting
wait.
guys.
So you blew it up. Was
I
it
blew it up.
okay? Like
In
your
that
love
moment,
addiction that you didn't know you had at the time.
I didn't have love addiction at the time, but the
Oh.
fact that my dad cheated made me believe that I couldn't trust any guy.
Mm.
And
Yes.
I didn't want to be blindsided. This is all in hindsight.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't want to be blindsided. So I would get with guys who I knew what I was getting. Kind of like that womanizer, fast talker, sweet talker. Yeah. So
You
I
know
ended
what
up
to do with that.
Yeah, I know what to do with that because I know what I'm getting. I had a saying. I was like, all guys are dogs, just get with a thoroughbred. Which is the worst. I do not. We love men. And Love CEO, let me clarify. Anybody who don't take that sound bite and run with it, we love men. We honor them. We think they are kings. And I don't believe in that thought process, but that was how I was thinking at the time.
Moment. Yes.
That was where I was.
Past. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I ended up getting in bad relationship after bad relationship. They were just womanizers. I got married and divorced twice. I was married and divorced twice before the age of 30. And yeah.
Well, I was married before 30, got remarried, and then only recently in my 40s got divorced again.
Yeah. I married the same guy, just in a different body.
Okay. I heard you say this. Yeah.
He was in a different body, but the same guy, because I had done no healing in order to attract a different type of person.
Okay. So what was the moment that made you face your healing and say, you know what, I'm going to go do a deep dive? What was that?
My friend, I had gone through divorce and I had my apartment. And then my friend, she was going through a divorce. This person that I knew for years, but hadn't talked to in a while. She was going through a divorce. And I was like, hey, if you need to come stay with me, you can stay with me. And she came and stayed with me, but she had been up late one night listening to, I don't know what it was, a Christian station or something. And this lady came on, a coach came on to give her commercial per se. And so my friend started going, and the woman was really about healing and tapping back into yourself. And I mean, it was in depth, like 20 sessions you go to in a group. And my friend told me about it. And I was like, yeah, I'll go with you because I'm searching for anything not to have history repeating itself.
Right.
It was bad.
I'm over
and
it.
So, yeah, I'm over that. And so I would drive, like it would be a Monday and traffic in the evening. And I would drive like an hour and a half to this place and take these lessons. And it was called Right Living in Newport Beach. And my life changed from that. I began to see my value. I began to look dead in the face, the healing that needed to happen. And it wasn't cute. I was depressed for like a month when I first started therapy. I was like, why? Because I was saying, guess what? What's the common denominator on these guys that you're dating? You, honey. Why are you allowing that same person in your space? How do they even get beyond your love vibration field? How do they even get beyond that?
What did you think you were missing, or were you really just protecting?
I think it was initially a protection, and then feeling like I was searching for love.
Yeah.
So I felt like
recognized it as a love addiction.
I didn't recognize it as anything until my therapist was like, hey, this is what love addiction is. You guys check whichever ones apply to you on this sheet of like 25 things. And I'm like, check. Like I was just like, damn, I checked all the things. There might have been 2 out of the 25. Don't quote me on the number, but 2 out of the 25 that I didn't check.
Right. I'm familiar.
Yeah.
I'm familiar. It's
LA, I'm telling you, right?
Girl, it was embarrassing for myself to recognize that within myself, or recognizing how my trauma was an excuse or a crutch to treat people a certain way. And I like to play a little game, not really a game, but I'll say words and then people will tell me what comes up for them. Mm-hmm. And one of the words was self-accountability. So you can tell me what comes up for you when you said self-accountability. Because that's what I had to go through.
I say showing up. When you say self-accountability, in my mind, I feel like showing up with all of who you are and loving yourself no matter what.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you get to that place, when that love intelligence is activated, then you can create a ripple effect, and it can affect the people in your household. It can affect your community. It can affect the world. With this ripple effect of love, but it starts with you. Like self-accountability is not about, oh, I'm accountable for these things I've done on that. How about being accountable for yourself and the things that you've done internally, the thoughts you have, the behaviors you have towards yourself or not towards yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Self-accountability. Because I had to look at myself and realize that, oh shit, I've been out here in these streets trying to like justify my behavior. And that behavior had everything to do with how I truly felt about myself.
Yeah.
But you talk about working with alpha women.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm alpha, but I'm also submissive because of my history of abuse. So in any given situation, it can be fight or flight. And I'm either or. And I just wonder, when you're taking a woman through the stages of understanding her voice and, unapologetic, I think was another word that you like to use.
Yes.
How do you go from, I really want this to be a part of my life, to this is who I am in my life, and not have that like that little attitude.
I call it the stank, and it's defensive. I can't candy coat it for you. There's something that I call there's a spectrum from unapologetically alpha to defensively alpha, and it's really I shouldn't even call it defensively alpha, because alpha is unapologetic. It's not, you don't walk an alpha lion doesn't walk through the jungle going, I'm an alpha. They just walk. If you watch them, they're just walking.
Yeah.
Like, I'm queen, I'm king, I'm here. And unapologetic is when you get to that place of not feeling you have anything to prove.
Yeah.
There's usually defensive, which people have put in the category of alpha, which is not. That's not true alpha. Right. And so my objective is, when you can truly forgive yourself for your past decisions.
Yeah.
Stand in what you really want, because when you stand in what you really want, you're not having to fight for it.
Exactly.
A queen doesn't fight to be queen. She just is.
Exactly.
And there's a beautiful,
Is this part of your pillars?
Yeah, well, part of my love intelligence pillar, this is part of my unapologetically alpha lessons. But the pillars of love intelligence come in where you have the self-awareness, but then you can create empathy and compassion for yourself. And so that you can receive, because a lot of people who categorize women as alphas, or women who put themselves in categories as alpha, they're not really, because they're not able to receive.
Right. They're more aggressive, I find. Like to the
I think it's defense. It's really defense. And I think it's just, alphas have got a bad rap because it's not alpha. It's just you're defensive and you're protecting yourself. And people go, oh, that's alpha, because they don't know any better.
So what's a statement that would reveal defensive, and then a statement that reveals alpha?
Okay, let's see.
Let's think about one.
Like, I'll think about one.
How I have like, if you're trying to tell somebody about your pricing, for example, in your business, this is how much my pricing is.
That's an alpha.
Yeah. So I $150 for my services. But what does a defensive person sound like saying that same thing?
Oh my God. And I've run into that too. I was just like, I can't do business with you. Can't do it. Where it's just like, this is my price, and you can't do this, and you can't do that, and you're not going to do that, and you will not get this, and you will not get that. And like, there's this thing that goes on and on. There's this list that goes on and on to justify why it's this rate.
Right.
When you're alpha, there's no justification. It just is, this is going to be $10,000. You understand your value.
Right. So, okay, as an example, whatever it is that you would do for $10,000, what is it that you can help tell yourself to say, I'm going to evaluate this at, I'm going to value this at 10,000, because so before you tell the person, you have to do the list for yourself.
Yeah, well, one of the things is you do that work in advance. Like, my rates from when I first started my business have gone way up. When I first started my business, you have to do a gut check on what does it feel? Does it feel good to you? If it feels good to you and you make that decision and you understand your value, then you will make different choices. The rates will probably be a lot higher. Yeah, they probably will. And you're not seeking approval from anyone.
Right.
You're not seeking approval. So when I talk about love intelligence, it's really that Self-awareness, you know what you need in your business. Self-compassion, I'm going to give this to myself. Empathy, understanding why you need it. Then you're able to express it. Yes, these are my rates. And then you can receive people paying you those rates. But if there's a disconnect and you're not believing that, and you're not having empathy about why you've created this rate, or you're just, there's going to be a disconnect, and you probably won't receive or be willing to. You'll make excuses.
Right. Ooh,
Yeah,
that's
you'll make
good
excuses.
stuff right there. Because I think that a lot of our young entrepreneurs watching the show, we struggle so much with how do we say how much we want to make. We know what we're bringing to the table, but maybe a little insecure about it. So to stand in the power of, do you remember the first time that you asked for the price that you?
Oh my God, yes, I remember.
Tell me that story.
Oh my gosh. And I wonder if she's listening. I met this lady at an event. I went to, like, it was a Business Inc. magazine had an event. And I was like, okay, I've been coaching people, but not really unofficially. And so I met this woman, and she just loved all the stuff that I was saying about my philosophies on life and what I've done for my business. And so then we got on a call, and the whole time before the call, I'm like, what can a rate be? What can a rate be? And I'm thinking, exactly. If I put this many hours, I'm putting this many hours equals that. And how do I feel about this many hours? Like, I had to do an inventory of how do I feel about giving my hour of time with the years of therapy and books and all of that I've charged. And then I just said it. And I had a background in sales. I did Mary Kay years ago. My mom's still in the business. And they're like, you say the price and then you shut up. And so then I was like, oh, she's like, oh, well, what's the rate? And I was like, oh, it's $1,800. And I just shut up.
Right.
And there was an uncomfortable silence.
Dialogue. Yeah. What was your internal dialogue during the silence?
Well, at that point, I had been doing some work. So I was just like sending love and light. I'm like, love and light. So good. He loves me, sending love and light. She loves me. Love and light.
Because defensive would sound differently.
Oh,
mind. What would that
sound? Yeah, it would. I don't know. I don't think I've been defensive. I played victim. I'm sure I have. Don't get it twisted, because I know I get defensive with my husband sometimes. So, but in the grand scheme of navigating through life, I think in that situation in the past, when I sold something, not necessarily with this business, but when I sold something, I would be afraid, like, she's not going to want it. So I played victim more for like, oh, she's not going to want this. She's going to think I'm a fraud. Is she going to do this? So I was more insecure.
Yeah, the
like
imposter.
Retreat. Yeah. Versus she better take it. She better not be trying to get no extra hours for this. Like, yeah, she better not try to get no extra hours. She only gonna get 3 sessions a month. You know, it wasn't. It's like,
so I ask you to say this because people need to recognize themselves, because I don't think they know how that comes off sometimes.
Man,
it's a whole thing. Okay, let's leave that. And we're still in the pre Love CEO phase. I want to know when you decided to do your one-woman show, because I've been thinking a lot about doing the adventures of a recovering sex addict.
Do it.
Okay, how do I have an idea. I even have tons of stories. What do you do with that?
You gotta write. Okay, so I did it in multiple ways. First, I journaled. Journaling is a huge thing. I journaled before I knew it was journaling. And yeah. And so I had written so many poems. I'd write about guys, about how I'm in love with them. And then I would go back and read. I'm like, I don't even know who that guy is. I'm like, who was that I just was so in love with? I can't remember. So I had these journals. But then when I moved to LA for acting, to be an actress, I was in an acting school, and you could take these elective classes. So I'm taking scene study and character study. But then there were some electives, and one of them was your one-person show. And I knew I had my kid at 19. I was married at 18 and a half. I knew I wanted to. Yeah, I know. I knew I wanted to encourage other girls who just doubted themselves. So kind of help them learn from the lumps on my head and not have to get into those situations. So I always knew that was in me. You're like me. Yeah. And so I took the one-person show class. And so it was very therapeutic.
There was a one-person show class?
Yeah, they have classes. They have class. I have a friend. I can connect you with a friend who.
Oh my God, I want to do it.
Who coaches. So it was writing. It was about just start by writing what's
I have a lot
happened.
written. I think I have too much content. That's the
Um,
problem. I become overwhelmed by it.
well, what I ended up doing is I had a lot of content. I'd been writing over 2 years. I'd hired another person who was a story coach. And so I
Really?
wrote stories. Yeah. And so years after all of that, I still hadn't done my one woman show. The very first class I started was like 10 years ago. And so I went home and I was like, I need to get back into the industry. I'd taken a break because my kid had gone off to college or was getting ready to send the kid to college and I needed a job.
Right.
And so I went and got a job. I was like, okay, me and you we got 2 years at this job. So when 2 years is up, I need to do something. So 2 years came. I knew I wanted to get back in the industry, but I wanted to do it with a bang. And I said, the best way to do it would be to do a one woman show. And I'm like, what? Oh, are you sure? Oh, so I went home. Yeah, I pulled out all of my journals, pulled out the writings that I'd written, and I just laid them on my living room floor. And so I just started going, huh?
Did you start to group them?
I started grouping them, and guess what showed up? The evolution of a love addict.
That is me all day. It's so funny that you called it the evolution of a love addict, and I fully had my show Cocktails with Ballet, The Adventures of a Recovering Sex Addict.
Yeah.
We were
That's
living
beautiful.
the same kind of like knowing, the awareness, the evolution of our awareness into what was really going on. And for me, my content is heavy at times. And so I have to laugh. I love almost comedy based stuff.
Although my show takes you on a roller coaster.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna
because of that, because there's those heavy moments of finding out, my husband cheated and I'm calling the florist and they're reading the card because I have all the information, and to the comical adventures in Starbucks because I wanted to go on 15-minute dates and I didn't want to give somebody my 2 to 3 hour time if they weren't worthy of it.
You did not.
Well, yes, I did. I was like, coffee. Huh?
You still do this show?
The last time I did it was October 2021. Yeah, but I'm open to still do my show. I still
recently. Wasn't that long ago.
Yep, and I have it where people can watch it online. I do have that on my website.
Okay, the website is it
Natasha Mccrea, NatashaMccrea.com.
Okay, so when you were doing the actual, did you have to get a director?
I hired a director.
Yeah,
I hired a director because I really wanted an outside eye for this, which was the best thing I could do. But my writing is very strange, I should say. And I remember I wanted women directors and I met with two. I was like, it has to be a Black woman. Like I just wanted a Black woman director. And so I met with a couple of people and they were like, you're going to need some rewrites here. And I was just like, no, that's how it's written. And so when I met with this one person, the guy who ended up directing it, he walked in and was like, I love it. Oh, wow. And I said, and I'm new to all the writing things. So I was like, do you feel like it needs any rewrites? And he's like, nope, we just need to add a couple of conjunctions, things that connectors and we'll be fine. And I was just like, oh, I found him. And we had so much fun.
It's almost like you have to be careful to not let another lioness write your story because it's your story.
That's so true. And that's something you mentioned earlier about the business. And when I first got in the business or like knowing your truth or knowing you're right. I can't remember what you said, but it made me think about something like that. It made me think about when I first got in the business, I was like a course junkie.
I know. You want to learn everything.
I'm like, let me get this course. I'm gonna buy this ebook, ebook. Like I'm buying everything. I have a file that is probably worth like $40,000.
Oh my Lord!
And so
put a course together.
I definitely have. I have courses already, so that's But I realized that I have all the answers.
Yes,
and that's what that's what I coach my clients in. I said, if you get with a coach, any type of coach you get with, the coach should be coaching you into your intuitive nature, like cultivating your intuition. And that's my objective with my clients. But also I had to take that on for myself. It's not just me teaching. I'm a teacher. No, I'm a student of I'd be listening to my own courses. I'd be like, that's module 4 of Unapologetically Alpha. Let me go listen to that. Like I do. Yeah. And you have to understand that everything you need is inside of you or at your fingertips. And you have to trust yourself. Yeah. You have to.
that's the part that I think we all struggle with. We might think I could think, oh, I don't trust Natasha, but it's really because I don't trust me.
Making that
It has
choice for
nothing
yourself.
to do with you. Everything to do with me.
That's a line in my one woman show, girl. You just taking the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, it was like I had to no longer think I wasn't about trusting these guys. It was really about trusting my choices and my intuition.
Yeah. And I remember recently, actually, I've been going on dates because I'm still in this dating phase, but I want to try on dating. Like, because I don't know how. I've been separated for like 6 years and I've gone on dates, but I've never really had a purpose. I think you have to date with purpose. Is that a thing?
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
it totally is. It totally is. I have a
Yeah.
course called Date Like a Boss. And so it's very strategic when you're going on the dates. You're collecting data. You're inquiring what you like. You're making notes. Oh, I liked this about him. And I didn't necessarily like that. And I'm okay with that. And it's about showing up.
Yes, because what I'm realizing while I'm on these dates now is I'm checking to see, do I like how I feel in this moment?
And that's different from before, right?
Yes, big time. Big time. Please, I want to please you. I want to please you.
Yes, I want to be your number one. I want you to choose me. And it's like, no, you're doing the hiring.
Choose me.
Yeah.
I want to choose me. And then I want to see, do we match? Because if we don't match, this just might be a really great friendship.
That's so profound, LA. That's so profound. Now, how did you get to that place where you were just like, you know what? I'm going to go into it with that mindset.
Oh yeah, no. But since I started Cocktails with LA, the whole idea has been about my healing and my sexual sovereignty. So I'm interested in healing my trauma, but I'm also interested in the adventures of what does life have to give me when I show up for me. And I never knew what that was like. And so it became a practice. I would hear, when you go to a therapy session or you do all of this healing, you're getting information. But I wanted to practice the information that I was receiving and being like, this thing doesn't work in this situation, but it was really good in this situation.
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess I'm acquiring the tools and creating a really great toolbox, maybe a tool shed.
Yeah, girl, we got our sheds. I love it.
Because sometimes you don't need a hammer. Sometimes you need a wrench.
Yeah, that's so important. I'm glad you're saying that because people need to hear that from that perspective of this is your turn to practice.
Yes.
Because so many times we got the word, it's a crutch, like therapy or coaching or all that is a crutch to keep you from even going out and practicing what you've learned.
It's the trapeze swing.
Yeah, you're like,
you are swinging. Yeah, you're over here. Right? I'm just hanging out. One day I'm going to let go and do my therapy, but I practice my therapy so that I can grab a hold of the next thing. And I just got tired of swinging and decided I'm going to jump. And I know there's a net below me. God's got me.
That's beautiful. Now, are you tracking? I mean, I don't know. I'm so
I'm a little nerdy like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I encourage that tracking, that journal. I go back and I'm like, you know how this all started with my one woman show too. Part of my one woman show, a friend of mine told me about this lady on Oprah who dated 100 guys and to get married. And so she and I, so she was like, you should try this. Yeah, I'm already married, but I got to 36 and I got into it. And it's not Mr. Mccrea, but I got to 36 and I got into a long-term relationship, which was a beautiful relationship. We just didn't match and he lived somewhere else. And it was number 36 that I got to, but I go back to the journal that I kept. And I was like number 18, and I just write down. And it was very interesting because I found that I was like, I wanted to make sure I was really still treating people, not just a number.
I know, right?
I want to honor that person who's in front of me, but it was very fascinating.
I'm so glad you said that. I mean, we pick up these like tropes and these ideas from self-help books and whatnot, and we think that we can just pick them up and place them in my life. I'm going to read Iyanla Vanzant's affirmations and I'm going to transform before your eyes. Hell no. There's so much more going on that has to be done. And
it's about making it your own.
Yes.
Your own.
And why I ask about the Love CEO is because it wasn't until I decided to become an incorporation did I show up for myself as an incorporation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
it's almost moving at the same time. So you have become a Love CEO Institute. So there is a lot
Yeah.
of education that's happening. It's an
Mhm.
establishment. There are
Yeah.
systems and processes. Talk to me about the Love CEO now.
So my background was executive assistant to C-level executives. So the C-suite, CEO, CFO,
Yep.
COO. And I watched how they did business versus how the employees complained about stuff. If
Interesting.
there was something that went down in the business that wasn't working, the CEO was very solution oriented. Did not focus on, yes, honey. Did not focus on what wasn't happening, who didn't do this, we hired the wrong person, this person did. They weren't doing that. They were just like,
Right.
okay, what do we need to do? We need to rehire. Okay, we rehire. Oh
Right.
yeah, this isn't good. Let's look at these numbers. And I said, if people treated love in this way, it would be so much more fulfilling. People have
Wow.
more meetings at the job than they have with their
Well,
spouse or their
right.
person. And I'm like, you got bi-weekly meetings with your, management, but you ain't taking your wife out on a
Right.
date twice a week. Like,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so
I'm
when
here
I
for it.
started, that's where the name came from. I was really about love and all about it, but I was also like, we can use left and right brain when it
Mm,
comes to love. And so
hello.
that was bridging the gap. I bridged the gap from left brain and right brain.
I like
So
it.
we can have all the feels, but love no longer becomes this thing we don't know about that's in the ether. Let me see if I can grab it. It doesn't do that. We don't do that anymore. We put a
No.
face on it. We have definitions of it. There
Yeah.
are practices you do in order for it to show up in your life. And then it becomes a lifestyle. My whole objective is so women can make loving their life a lifestyle.
Yes.
And yeah. And so when you're practicing, it just is second nature. It's second nature to put yourself first. It's such second nature to say no because you need some rest.
I
It's
love
second nature. It's not work.
Yeah, I love love as a lifestyle. I think that's what I'm doing that now.
Yeah, I'm hearing it. I love it.
I don't know how I didn't realize that I got here until I started speaking to you, which is the power of network and the people that you surround yourself with. That was
Yeah.
something that I was crying like a babbling idiot for the last couple of years as people kind of began to exodus my life. And I kept
Mm,
thinking, well, it is always about you. When people say it's not about you, it is. It is about me because whatever I'm experiencing is about me. And whatever I feel
yeah.
is about me. What you do with it is different.
Mhm.
So as people were leaving my life and I noticed the imposter and the self dialogue being something that was like, there's something wrong with me. What have I done? Blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. Like self-defecating, self-defecating, self-defecating. And now it's changing now because now I'm a CEO. I'm in charge
Yeah.
of LA Wade right now and
Yeah.
everything that LA Wade has to do. And I'm showing up differently because as a business person, to your point, you have to be a solution finder. You have to
Mhm.
be somebody who moves pieces, that networks and has a good team of people together.
Yes.
And you
Yeah.
lead your team.
You lead your team and you can't sweep anything under the rug.
Cannot. So
CEOs, your company will go down if you sweep it under the rug. You got to look at it. You got to look at the numbers. You got to look at the facts. And
yes.
that's what we do. That's what, that like I know I pound self-awareness into the pavement, but that's what that does for you.
Yeah, you also mentioned in another interview somewhere, I can't remember where I saw it, something about your board of directors for your life.
Yes. Yes.
I was like, nobody, I live with nobody. Oh my God, are you hearing what she's saying? Nobody's in my house. And sometimes that's how it has to be because I'm so dedicated to like, I don't need anybody in my life right now except those that need to be there. Who needs to be there? Who should be on my board of directors?
Yeah.
Tell me about the personalities of the people in your board.
It really, it's so interesting because I had my board of directors before I knew what they were. So as over the years of having the business and looking at my life, and I'm always self-reflective. I'm always learning. I'm like that person in the book. And I realized that I can't do it by myself. I knew that. And I always kept thinking, it's a coach, it's this person, it's that, it's the, and then I realized the people that I had in my life that I had surrounded myself with, and I started doing an inventory and I started asking questions about them. Some folks got cut from the team, just letting you know, but I started looking at these people in my life. And so the personalities, I have one person on the board who's very opinionated and sometimes get on my nerves, but I love this person. Right. And this person will tell me like it is. And I know every single the through line for everyone is that all of them want the best for me. They don't have a hidden agenda. It's not what they want. Each person who's on my board wants what's best for me.
And they might find how did they prove that to you?
My intuition. I had to build my intuition to know. My gut always tells me.
Yeah, I think Brene Brown, I heard it from her anyway. I don't know if it's hers, but she talked about telling her daughter about her friendship jar or marble jar. And each friend, we get a characteristic and put it into this jar. And the daughter came and pulled one out and was like, what's going on with Sally or whatever? And Sally she lost a marble because Sally wasn't showing up the way that this child wanted her to show up in her life. And I think, and there's a coaching through that, but it's important to understand what marbles are going in the jar. How are you?
It really does.
Like, what do you think is important when I'm insecure versus when I'm a CEO? My marbles even change.
Yeah. It's so interesting because there are when I go through the definition of what love is, it has these characteristics. Perseverance and patience and kindness. And
1 Corinthians 13.
Yeah, it's 1 Corinthians. And I've taken some of those, and this is like ancient, y'all. But you have to put people say it at weddings, but ain't nobody listening. People say those at weddings, and you're like, what is love? You keep asking, what's love? It's right there.
Love is kind.
So what I've done is I've taken the definitions and you break them out in Webster terms. Yes. Then you say, how does that show up in my life?
In both personal and business.
In personal and business, and how you are showing up for yourself and for others. Yes. And when you have that's the gauge. So that's the gauge. And it may not always be equal to what you think this person should be telling you, and you want them to pat you on your back. I have a friend who's like massive cheerleader. I love it, but she definitely will still tell me like, I don't know, Tosh, last week you said this and this doesn't really align with that. That's the board of directors. So, but I know that each one of them are showing those signs of love.
Right. How did you move from validation, from external validation to internal validation? Are you aware of that? Like, I will always be looking for that person say you're doing a good job versus LA, you are doing a great job and you know that. But I don't know it. Like, I won't sit with that.
Yeah, I came from a people-pleasing background. Like, I was always wanting to please people. And I just had a situation yesterday and I was like, oh, that's people-pleasing. Okay, center yourself. You don't need to do this. But the internal validation versus external validation is one, understanding that you are your biggest cheerleader. Like, you have to be your biggest cheerleader and you have to celebrate your wins. Women like us have a tendency to have wins and then we on to the next.
Yes. We keep moving the goal line.
Yeah. Yep. We get there and we're like, oh, I need to. And then we don't even party on that goal line. We need to party. We need to throw the ball. We need champagne, popping bottles, confetti. Yeah, we need to celebrate. Yeah. And so if we are constantly chasing these goals and not celebrating ourselves, I think the internal validation gets distorted.
Yes.
So we have to take a moment to validate ourselves through celebration, through giving, through allowing, receiving.
Celebration. That is I love that. Unapologetic.
Yeah, unapologetically. I'll be on the couch. One day I came home And I went and I was like, I want champagne and oysters because I did a good job. I made it through the week. We finished our self-care workshop. And Ben's like, hey, what's going on? I was like, nothing. My feet were kicked up. I had like raw oysters and champagne. And
and he's like, can I come to this party?
Yep. And he's like, you got that, babe. I was like, I sure do. I sure do. You ain't got to tell me.
Did you do the one-woman show and then meet him?
I did. Ben came to opening night of my one-woman show. So I met him during rehearsals, which I'm surprised the brother even got in because sister was like all over the place. And I was meeting people and he took my number and he didn't call. It was New Year's Eve. But at the time, I didn't notice he hadn't called, to be honest, because I was busy. And yeah, I was like, but then I ran into him again. Actually, yeah. So he said he was going to come to my show. And he came to the show and my family said this guy was hanging around, but I don't even really know. I was like, oh, really? And so because he knew my cousin too. So he was like meeting my parents and everybody. I didn't know this. I didn't, but
that side first.
Yeah, but it was really interesting that he came to the show and he still followed up. Like he followed up, a few weeks later, but he still followed up and because he saw everything. But then the show is so in depth that nobody could look at it and knock it.
Did you feel like people because I used to be like, I'm pretty open. And when people are when you're that open about your life, people feel like they know you.
Yeah. Yes. People do feel like that. There's a whole bunch. I think I run into that a lot. People feeling like they know me because I am very transparent. Like you and I, we talking about life and stuff. And this is
the
like
first time I've ever seen you or spoken to you in my life.
And we're homies. We be like, go way back.
Exactly. So I get that. But when it comes to dating, it started to make me feel a little bit uncomfortable because you do it well with calling it the love addict. I call myself the adventures of a recovering sex addict because I just feel like people constantly lead with sex to create intimacy.
Oh my gosh.
Like, can we just?
I used to get on my nerves.
Yes.
And I can't wait for you to see my show because there's a whole section of the guy who took me like to a sex shop. First date after dinner. Like, oh, there's a sex shop down there. Let's go. Like, and I go in, but I'm just like, guess what, bro? You just got knocked off the list.
Your Marble's coming out.
But he had an amazing time. Marble's coming out, but I will always spread love.
Always.
I have boundaries. So there's no disrespect or, I'm not going to be like, love, here's love to somebody who's, abusing me. I won't do that because I have boundaries. And I think Brene Brown is the one who says, if you don't have boundaries, you can't have compassion. Because if somebody's continually hurting you, it's hard to love somebody who keeps hurting you. So I always had boundaries. So people would leave dates for me thinking they had the best date in this world, but they were not going to get to second base.
You're like smiling like, I'm never going to sleep with you.
Never. You have an amazing intellect, but you're not getting it. Like, it's just, I had all these beautiful, I remember telling a guy once, I was like, we all have expiration dates, just like the milk. And he was like, taken aback. But he was also the guy who was like barely calling. And I was like, dude, he's like, this feels really good. And I was like, it's okay. We have expiration dates.
Which leads me to, Ben's marble jar.
Yeah.
What were the characteristics that really solidified it for you to say, you know what? I trust that I'm where I need to be to receive this in my life.
Ben came right after I had prayed to God and I was like, I want someone to share my life with. I could have got really specific. Even now when we having arguments, I was like, I left that off the list. Damn it.
My 9-year-old's like, I gotta be more specific with.
Yeah, I was like, I gotta be more specific. 9 years. Yeah, 8 years in. But so I knew I wanted someone that I could share my life with. And I prayed for patience. And I will tell you, my husband's face should be in the dictionary when it comes to patience. Yeah. God, I was like, God, I want patience. And God was like, you going to have struggle with that. So I'm going to bring you somebody who is patience incarnate. Like my husband,
the person to read script with.
He can read. We can read scripts, but he's also analytical and stuff. So I can see his mind. I'm like, we're just reading right now. Don't judge my performance. Because he's a director too. I'm like, we're just reading. Don't judge it. And I need you to wipe the judgment off your eyebrow.
I think you found somebody that you really have dealt with. So clearly the woman you've done the work to become has become. You are her.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
are
And
her.
I'm
I
constantly.
on your IG page, and you just went somewhere that I'm completely jealous about. Where was that?
Oh, was that Sedona? We went to New
Yes,
Orleans and then we went to
Sedona.
Sedona and we were on the mountain and we went hiking and took pictures. It was so
Yeah.
much fun.
See, I want that too, and I don't feel like I'm meeting people who they have one or the other. They have aspects of so I'm getting closer, but I think
Yeah.
that's probably because I'm inconsistent in some way in that area. But
Well,
you're multifaceted, correct?
yes.
So
I'm
it's hard
such
to
a
find
wild
people
multi-passionate.
to like,
Well,
do a lot of
one of the things people are probably going to shoot me for this one, but one of the things I truly believe is that if you get 90%, you're in a good space.
90%.
And you have to determine what is that 90%. What's the 10% that's okay to
Like
pass on?
if he had 90%, but the 10% was just something that was
A
like,
major thing that won't work.
so you can't do 90-10.
You can't do
10
that.
is
No,
not where it's
you
at.
cannot do that. And it's a matter of understanding the things you want and the things they cannot have. Now, the cannot haves, and this comes from a book called Date and Soulmate. The cannot haves are you can't shake those. That's unwavering. But the things you want can be adjusted. However, in Date Like a Boss, what I do is I have you write down your most amazing characteristics, and then envision the person who will complement those characteristics. And Ben compliments those characteristics in me.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, he really does. He compliments that, and I do for him as well. And the mere thing that I fell in love with can sometimes be the thing that I'm like, damn, Gina, like I can get annoyed with every now and then. And then I'm like, I prayed for that patience. And then I'm like, you moving too slow, and and I have to find that balance for myself. I think when you get into a relationship with the person you're supposed to be with, that person is going to evoke growth in you.
Yes.
You're going to become a better person when you're with them.
Right.
And it may not be that overt, like, oh, this person really does inspire me, encourages me. It could be by adjusting to this personality, I am becoming the best version of myself.
Right.
And I know that is a fact. I know I chose well, even when I'm like, we need to book up our therapy appointment, because I'm not even going to front. We have therapists, but we have such a beautiful, existence.
Yeah.
Together.
Is that what gave you the confidence to start the production company together?
No, I jump off the cliff.
Okay, yeah.
I bringing him along. I'm bringing him along. I'm like, come on, baby. And so I think that's more. I'm more the jump off the cliff person, and he's starting to come on board with that. I'm starting to see that with him. Yeah, it's so sexy. It's sexy.
It is, right?
Yeah, but he doesn't ever keep me from anything. He doesn't stand in the way. If I was given a vision or if I'm supposed to do something, he's just like, okay. He might ask a few questions just so he can have an understanding, but he's just like, you do you. He's not intimidated by anything I do. He's not put off by it. He trusts my expertise.
And that's because you trust it.
Yes. Because I'm very confident about the choice I'm making. But I get insecure with stuff. I'll call him. I don't understand. Why is this? I don't know. Am I doing? I will have
He'll just remind you of what he already knows that you know.
And that's how you all up in our business.
I know that that's the way it works.
Yeah.
So I look forward to having that in my life as well.
You can. I know you will.
Oh, Mike Truth, thank you. Such an awesome
conversation. Oh, thanks, Mike Truth.
It really was an awesome conversation. There's so many things that I have not learned about you. I'm going to have to bring you to Toronto for something.
Yes.
Somehow we're going to have to get you here. And I used to go to LA all the time. They call me LA. I felt it was weird to be LA in LA.
In LA?
In Toronto, it works, but in LA, I don't know. I might have to go by my.
I think it'll work. You'll own it.
That's true. I will.
Yeah, you'll own it.
Yes. I'm glad that we did learn a lot about how you do business and that it comes from you. And I think that's the message, really. Is there anything else you want to leave us with? I always like to ask the question, what are you still thirsty for in your life? And when I say thirsty, I'm talking like if you weren't in a healthy place, you would do anything to have it.
Yeah. I'm thirsty for more passion.
More passion.
Yeah, I'm thirsty for more passion. I want it to like ooze out of my pores and travel. And I feel like that's the part that might be missing. And so you see, I'm starting to do a little bit more travel if you see my IG, but
yes.
I'm thirsty.
Love travel.
I'm thirsty for that, just that firecracker, fireworks type of passion in life.
I like it. Do you feel mad at Ben if he doesn't match that in a moment
Yes.
that you're excited?
Mm-hmm.
How do you reconcile that?
I call my friends.
And with business, it'd be like if you wouldn't have somebody who's excited about working with you, maybe you shouldn't be working with them.
Yeah, but the thing about it is everybody shows their excitement in different ways.
That's true.
Someone can be excited and be like, "Oh, that's so wonderful, Natasha. That is so wonderful."
And you're like, is this it? This is all you got? And he's like,
and that's okay.
Yeah.
I think the challenge that we get is we want to change everybody in life,
opposed to finding validation and codependency sneaks up.
Yeah. Oh, Mike Truth said, "Girl organizes trips." All right, yeah. Mike, go down in my DM.
Honestly, she's really great.
But he gets excited but the way I reconcile it is I realize that the person I'm married to is not the person who's going to give me everything I need.
That part. Woo! That is a big, big one. Wow. And a lot of people who are into polyamory use that as a
and and the older I get, that's a very interesting concept for me. Absolutely. We haven't gone there. I don't think we will, but I'm very interested in that type of stuff. I understand it. Yeah, I understand it 100%. 2 years from 50, a year from 50, because I'll be 49. I understand that. I understand that 100%.
Oh my gosh, we're the same. I have to. We have to connect.
We're gonna have to talk. We gonna have some champagne and
listen. I think we need to create something because this has been very, very amazing for me. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. I can't believe this is the first time I've ever spoken to you, seen you.
No,
like not even a pre-interview.
No. I think there might have been a hey on Ben's.
Oh yeah,
when it was over. Yeah, when it was over, I was like, oh, she's cool. And then we exchanged information.
Well, I'm so grateful for your time here. Thank you so much for joining the Cocktale Hour, Natasha. Where can people reach you?
Oh, they can reach me at Love CEO Institute or Natasha Mccrea. I'm Natasha Mccrea everywhere. That's MCCREA.
Amazing. Thank you for watching the Cocktale Hour. I know we went a little bit over. Shout out to Business Takeout, who empowers and inspires Black wealth and Black entrepreneurship. And I think I just found my online doppelganger, and I'm so excited to know that I can meet somebody who is mirroring a journey that I've been through and has gotten to create a whole business around it, which is what I'm trying to do. So thank you so much, Natasha.
I love that. Thank you.
All right. See you next Monday, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
See you.
If you enjoy our programming and want to help support Black entrepreneurship, please donate today. www.businesstakeout.com/donate.